All right, welcome to the Joe Kilgallon Podcast, aka Kilgallon's Pub. As always, I'd like to give a big thanks to all the listeners. You guys are the best, especially those Patreon subscribers. I can't do it without you guys. I really can't. So thank you very much. Last week's episode, I did two podcasts. One with Will the Thrill Miles. I'm calling him Will the Thrill. He's a writer and producer on Southside of Comedy Central. Now moving over to HBO Max show. And I also did a solo podcast where your boy Joey just ranted about some shit. And I really enjoyed that. So I think you might be getting an extra solo podcast per week going forward. And today's podcast I'm also very excited for. A returning guest. Just like a real piece of shit of a person. Just terrible accent from Wisconsin, which is just the poor man's Illinois, I think, or the poor person's Minnesota. I don't know. I really don't know. Actually, I love all those places. Those are great places. And I love the guest I'm about to bring on, returning to the podcast, the one, the only, Rebekah Gibson. What's up, Becca?
Oh, nothing. Just hanging out. I had my first insult of my name. Another comic, Mike Robinson, we were hanging out. We were all drunk, and he was like, "Rebekah, get over here." I was like, "All right." And he goes, "I don't like the way your voice sounds." Well, I'm going to go kill myself. So thank you.
Well, listen, Rebekah, I normally give great intros. I thought this time, yeah, thank you. I thought this time around, because you're a returning guest and we're chummy pals, that I would be like, you know what? I'm going to give her some shit. Why not?
You want to know what? Keep me on my toes. The day that comics stop giving each other shit is the day we all stop, I think. When we can't be mean to each other, we should put our hats down and be like, we're done. This is it.
Yeah, right? I definitely, the thought of that going away breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day because I was texting a couple of my friends, comedian friends, these replies I see. TikTok has got some of the best replies fucking ever to videos.
Really?
Because I think a lot of people on there who are like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not trying to get followers. I'm just going to post. And obviously you see that shit on Twitter too.
Yeah.
But, and look, obviously there's some assholes who make replies where you're like, all right, you're a piece of shit. You shouldn't have said that. Right. But the ones on TikTok, I'm fucking cry laughing over.
Really? I didn't know that it was a brutal, to me, that's like a nice place. To me, when I think of mean, I think of like Reddit, but I've never read the comments because Reddit's anonymous. You can say whatever you want. You can be like, "Hey, you fat piece of lard, that's not funny." Like that's just, and then no one's the wiser who said it. But TikTok, we just don't care. I want you to know.
Yeah. I think though, see, Reddit's just mean. It's just there's gotta be a little humor to it. And they're not all like mean, but some of them are just like funny. Okay, here's my two favorite ones that I've come across recently. I've come across a lot of really good ones. This woman had, like, some people do like these like transformation videos on TikTok. It's kind of like a big trend. A lot of them is like a weight loss thing or learning something like, oh, I started off sucking and now I'm awesome. Like shit like that. Yeah. This woman's was she showed pictures of herself. And Rebekah, these monsters on her chest, they were like, bam, right? I know you like big boobs, Rebekah. I know you're into them, so come on.
I have a story for you after this about big old boobies. Continue.
Can't wait. We're going to follow it up with a lot of boob talk. So the transformation was that she went from having big boobs to like medium-sized ones because like she had back pain. So she had a breast reduction.
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I got to check the comments on this. The first comment was, damn, you just went from a 9 to a 6. I laughed for an hour. And because I just loved it. Because look, it was like good natured in a sense. I'm sure she didn't like it maybe, but it was clever enough that even though I was like, probably not the nicest thing to put on that because she's really like happy with her body now, but it's fucking funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Also, you're getting a reduction in breasts, and then now you're also getting a reduction in looks, and that's kind of funny. Like you've just reducted everything.
Yeah, I think that's why it's funny too, because it was like a choice that was made. Now, if she would have, if she had the transformation of like, here's me at 300 pounds, here's me at like 175, and someone was like, oh, finally you're fuckable. Like that would be like, all right, come on.
Yeah. It is
Also hilarious though.
yeah, also that's funny. It's the one thing that you can do the reduction that's like you will never it's like a good for you. Like people get their breasts larger and it's kind of like frowned upon, but like people kind of still there's a stigma of like it being like a bad thing. But like a reduction is such like a hero act. Be like, oh, she had a lot of health issues that hurt her back, and I think it's hard to like because to dress for yourself. But I used to have a neighbor who had size K breasts. She was like 60 years old, and she was like, everyone thinks my husband likes them. He hates them. They're huge. They're like down to her knees.
Well, at 60 size K, that's
up there. That's getting stuck in your shoe.
stuck in your shoe.
You're stepping on that.
And how bad are those nipples?
Oh, you said how big or how bad?
Both.
Both.
How big and bad, right? I mean, you're 60. Did she have kids?
Yeah.
Probably got chewed up a bit.
Yeah, chewed up. Probably leathery. Probably look like a little dog toy.
Oh, God. All right, let's hear your big boob story.
All right. This is a wacky story. This just happened to me last week. Okay. I went to the dentist, all right, which should not be which is no place I should see boobs, I would say, ever. And I went to this place. This has happened to me several times where my little sister is known for giving sketchy recommendations. Like I'll be like, hey, I'm looking for like some place to like get a facial. She's like, I know this great place in Pilsen. Doesn't look like a spa. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop you there. And so she goes, I'm like, I need to go to the dentist. She's like, I know this guy. He's like, it's such a great place. And she's like, in the beginning, it doesn't kind of look like a dentist office, but it is. And I'm like, he's like, and you can like pay him with like as you go. And he's really nice. I'm like, all right. And it was in Lakeview. So I'm like, oh, that's like a fine neighborhood. And I get there and everyone's so nice. When I go in there, I'm like, this is like the best place on earth. And my dentist is like 60 years old, okay? And every time I go in there, it's at the end of the day. And he's always like filling me with compliments. He's like, you're so sweet. You're so nice. I'm like, I know. And then he's like showing me pictures of this like of dental work that he's done that he was going to do for me. And he's like, oh, here, I got it on my phone. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, it's weird that he doesn't just have it on like a screen. And he's flashing through all these pictures. And all of a sudden I see 6 pictures in a row of like the biggest bare naked breasts, like just like laying down on a bed, like huge bare knockers. And he doesn't say anything about it. And I don't say anything about it. He's swiping through it like it could have been a picture of a dog. Like, choo, 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 choo. He's like, anyways, here's my grandkids. He's like, here's my boat that I have on Bridgeport Harbor on 31st Street. And he goes, and here are the teeth. And I'm like, okay.
How he'd even do like a, oh, whoops, sorry about that.
He didn't say whoops. He just kept scrolling like there wasn't pictures of boobs in front of my face. And then at first, you know, when you're in the moment and you don't think about it, and then I'm driving home and I'm like, that was weird, right? It's weird that I saw 4 pairs of breasts. Huge.
Wait, they were different women's?
Yeah.
And they were all massive.
Massive. Like cow udders, like fake ones, like laying down.
Oh, they were laying down too. See, when they're that big and you're laying down, they kind of like fall in on themselves a little bit, or, you know. Not
these, but they look a little bit fake. But I also think maybe he does that on, I don't know. Well,
first of all, we got mad respect for this guy. This guy, it's fucking cool as shit. And that's like a power move to be like, you see them boobs?
And he then threw the boat afterwards. He's like, these are my friends, my young friends. I'm like, this guy.
That one thing I would worry about if I were you, because you said these women were laying down.
Yeah.
Maybe they were laying down in a dental chair.
Oh, like they were under?
They were under for like wisdom teeth or something. And he's just taking tit pics like Tim Watley from Seinfeld, although they weren't taking tit pics. They were, you know, fondling and fingering, I think. There was a lot of hand stuff.
Oh. Wait, is that a movie? Wait, they were...
It was, no, from Seinfeld. You're young, I forget. The TV show Seinfeld.
And then...
they had a dentist who was fondling people in the show.
I was going to say, that's a pretty good movie. But
that would be a great movie.
It would be a great movie. It'd be crazy if like the whole like office was in on it, or they were like harvesting organs while they were under for. You never know. You want to know what the difference in Wisconsin and Chicago is? It is here you just never know. It's such a sketchy place. Like we might be dumb in Wisconsin, but I'm gonna go to the dentist and not see boobs.
Yeah, but that's not fun. The dentist sucks. Maybe he thought you were nervous and what's
Yeah.
boobs calm people down, Rebekah.
Well, that's why I thought he was being so sweet for me because I am nervous. I hate doctors. I'm like a child, and he was talking to me like I was a 6-year-old kid. He's like, "You're so brave." I'm like, "Thank you." He's like, "You're doing so great."
Well, I'm bad at doctors. I mentioned on the last podcast, I get like real faint almost every time I go there. I like pass out kind of. It's weird little.
Mine goes into like a la la land. I'm like, my heart's racing, so like I'm not comprehending a lot when I'm in there.
So you're just nervous though, but you're never like at the risk of passing out?
No, I'm not a pussy. But I do get a little a little nervous. My hands get sweaty and I'm like, I gotta watch.
Well, I want to backtrack on something you said though, because I strongly disagree with this. I actually have a stand-up bit about it off of the Comedians You Should Know album, which you guys should all check out. I believe it's on Apple and Spotify still. It came out about fucking 11 years ago, I think now. Or no, 10 years ago. Anyhow, it's you mentioned like Wisconsin versus Chicago, and I kind of feel like you did like a small town, big city thing there.
Yeah.
In the city, you kind of know how you're going to die though, right? There's a million different ways.
Yeah.
It can be a little weird. I feel like the country is when the really creepy ass shit happens though.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
like skull fucking, wearing skin. You know, I feel like whenever you watch a horror movie, and there's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like a House of Wax situation, it's not set in fucking Manhattan, or it's not set in Denver. You're like right near downtown. You know, it's always set like trees, a lot of tall trees.
Well, there's no one to save you when you're in the woods. You're out of there. That's like it's like being on the boat. If I were to go with that dentist on his boat, which maybe I will, you're a sitting duck. When you're in the woods or you're in a small town, you can't just scream out help and somebody in the nearby. In a city, there's people all around. I do feel a little bit more scared in the country. Like if I were by myself on like a dirt road at night, I'm like, if I break down, that whoever's coming behind me to help me will be the death. It'll be death.
Yes. See, that's interesting because it's more friendly, like in the country and rural places. I find the people more friendly. They're cool. And this isn't saying one is better than the other, but city's better. No, I agree though. Like the thing is, again, people are probably more friendly in the country, but in the city, I feel like there's more people. So the statistical odds of someone being like, "Oh yeah, I'll fucking make sure that person doesn't stab you 100 times."
Yeah.
I'll get to you, like a little bit, shit like that.
But on the other side of that, because when I went to New York, I felt safe almost the entire time. Like coming home on the subway, there were so many people at like 2 a.m. It was still a packed car. And I was like, I feel as safe as can be. And then someone was like, yeah, but nobody here gives a shit. So people get like robbed and attacked on the subway all the time.
I hear that, but I can't. I think if you're getting robbed and they're taking your wallet, someone's going to look up and be like, "Ugh." But if you're getting physically beaten, I feel like people would step in. I really do. And maybe I'm being too nice to New Yorkers. I agree though. I've been in New York a bunch of times. I've always had a great time. I think people think, oh, I'm from Chicago, I should hate New York because of the sports team rivalries that we have. But I feel like we kick their ass in most stuff. Well, the Yankees have us and the Mets. The Bulls and Knicks, that's where I'm thinking we really dominated. But there's so many people around, and New York's crime statistics are actually very low for the amount of people they have. It's statistically much safer than a lot of cities, and it's huge. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like everyone's there's too many people around to really like. I think the real crime in New York is like Wall Street shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they're just screwing over the little guy.
Well, also, I think there's a lot of like unsolved. I think there's a lot of like unsolved cases in New York. I think a lot of stuff goes on in like alleys where people they get mugged and they
don't really have alleys.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Because the trash is everywhere. That is.
Yeah, I mean, there's little alleyways. I mean, you could pull someone in between like two buildings and fuck them up, but it's not like an alley like Chicago alleys.
Well, that is maybe that's the crime rate. A lot goes down in an alley.
I pissed in every alley in the north side of Chicago.
Oh yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No, I'm right there with you, and I am a female. I'll do it if I'm drunk. If I'm not drunk, it'll be during the day, and if I'm like, well, I gotta be.
I'm sober all the time. As a woman, you're comfortable just popping a squat wherever it may be?
Not if there are people around, but but yeah, I will pee in an alley. I will pee almost anywhere. Although the older I get now, I kind of need to be like backed up against something, almost like I can't. Maybe this is just because I'm out of shape, but I'm not. I can't like squat and just pee. I have to like if it's a tree, I'll just like sit up against a tree.
So
And
you need
then
your lower back up again. I gotcha.
I've done the coolest thing with kids, because if you're in a park, they just are gonna like pee, and if it's a boy, they can just go anywhere. With a girl, you kind of just like hold them like they're sitting on a toilet, and they'll just pee straight down. And I'm like, I'm a genius.
Just put your hands under their armpits a little bit and kind of prop them up a little bit, right?
Well, no, you gotta get their legs up, because if you don't do that, then they're gonna pee all over themselves. So
Well, I figured they would do the sitting position and then you kind of hold them up as they're doing that.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's uncomfortable. That's too many things to focus on.
I have 2 sons, so I don't really know what the experience is with little girls having to pee. Thank God. It sounds creepy even saying it out loud.
Well, it's worse. I think it's worse with boys, because there's more going on down there. It's harder to clean. I would think. I don't know. And plus, they pee on themselves. Like, have your sons peed on their faces yet?
As babies, you mean? Like when you're changing their diaper?
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten past it off the shoulder. Luckily, I'm very quick on the draw.
Yeah.
Maybe when other people changed it, they might have gotten up there.
Yeah.
But I think statistically, like every little boy's peed on themselves and damn well near their face, even because the times like when you take the diaper off because you're like, oh, you took a shit. Your brain's like, I'm changing a poopy diaper, and you open it up, and then this piss is just like a goddamn geyser. It's impressive.
It's like they know. I think it's the air. They're like, now I will pee.
They say air.
Yeah, they think it's the air. Your children look exactly the same. Do people tell you that a lot? Maybe not in person, but in pictures, I'm like, this is the same child.
Their smiles are very similar. I think Dylan is not quite as pale as Matthew. Matthew's very white. He gets it from me. Dylan has his mother's skin tone, which is a little darker. His eyes are a little darker shade of blue. Matthew's are a little bit more baby blue like me. But yeah, they do. They look a lot alike. They're very similar. They get along great. So far, very lucky. Although Dylan just wants to play with the stuff the older son Matthew wants to play with. And sometimes Matthew's like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, dude. Like he doesn't swear like that. But
I'd love it.
Like it would be great if he's like, you stop it. I'm building train tracks in a certain way. And here you come along, just fucking it up, man. Okay, the Lego train doesn't go to these tracks. It goes to a different train track. So just fucking move it along, little one. It'd be great if you actually talk like that.
It would make your little one be pretty tough. He's gonna go up and be like, I can take on anything. I had the worst of brothers.
No, I think he's actually getting tougher, and that's why I think the younger brother often does get tough. Yeah. Michael Jordan famously said that he wouldn't be the basketball player he was if it wasn't for his older brother just destroying him all the time growing up, because it made him have this psychotic competitive drive where he thought, if I could beat my brother, I could beat anybody.
Yeah, and you also want to be to that level, even though you shouldn't be, because he's 3 years older. Like, but the little kid is just like, I want to be like him so bad that they kind of just grow because they're like, I don't know, got a little more kick in them.
I'd like to find a study or get like actual statistics about it, of how often the younger brother becomes the better athlete than the older brother. I bet it's a lot.
I bet it's a lot. Although then
are you better athlete than your sisters?
Oh yeah, I'm right in the middle. I just did it more. Like I was just involved in more sports, but I would like to think that, yeah. My little sister played a lot, and she's not. I hope she doesn't watch this because it just was not her forte.
Did she suck?
Oh yeah, she's really
fucking
bad.
awful. Let's tag her in it once we upload it.
And be like, she's fucking suck. When you could see they're trying their hardest, and you're like, ooh, oof, my goof. But I think, middle child too. I think you kind of just like do what you want. You're kind of you're not trying to please anyone, and you're not trying to be anything. So you're just like, but I don't know. You were the oldest?
No, I'm second. I'm second of 4. The middle ones definitely get a little bit lost in the shuffle sometimes. Yeah. So then it makes you, there's a little bit more of a I don't give a fuck in the middle children.
And also you kind of are like, oh, I saw what they did that made them get in trouble, and it's like I see what the other one. I'm like, so I'll just not do that. You kind of just are like existing, I guess. I don't know.
Yes. Well, what I've noticed is that, and sometimes I feel guilty about this, but my eldest son, he was just him. He was by himself for a little over 2 years. He was 2 years and like 2 months when my youngest son was born. And so he was kind of just like always, I have your attention 100%. And it's like, well, actually there's a baby here now. So we got to divvy up the attention. And now that they're a little older, there are times where my son, the oldest, still is like, Dad, play this with me, play this game, or build this thing, or let's fucking do this thing. And it's like, all right, well, I got to do some stuff with Dylan too. And the game you want to play, Dylan doesn't really get that game. He's a little too little. And then it makes the little one, because I'll just occupy him with something. I'm like, all right, dude, because the older one could like yell now. He'll be like, what the fuck? Can I do this? Again, the kid's not swearing, everyone. That's how I internalize or interpret what he means. So I'll be like, all right, Dylan, you play with a game like some Spider-Man or Captain America toys or something. And he's playing by himself, but he's learning to be more independent because he's by himself, or he's watching what we're doing and then he's figuring it out quick. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like the middle kids and younger ones get a little bit more independent quicker because they grew up in a world where they didn't get a parent who had 100% of their attention.
I wonder if that's going to make him grow up to be a little bit kind of a little needy, you think? A little like, why
the younger one? No, the older one, I feel like the older children might be needier because
like in a relationship, he's going to be like, you're not spending enough time with me. Like, do you think that's going to come back to him?
I don't know. I don't really give a shit right now. That's for their future, that's their fucking relationship problems. And like as a parent, you just want them to be alive, healthy. You know what I mean? Obviously you want them to be well-adjusted and all that kind of stuff and be a normal contributing member of society, and normal by like meaning like, not a murderer or any shit like that. If they want to be like fucking dyeing their hair blue and stuff, I'm totally cool with that. I like that kind of self-expression. I'm going to teach like free thinkers. And like the kid, he's fibbing a little bit, but like, it's funny. He'll be like, Dad, he'll whisper to me and be like, I'm going to have one Reese's peanut butter cup, but we don't need to tell Mom. Like, Mom doesn't need to know. It's not like a thing. And I'm like, but if Mommy asked, you got to tell her you had one, because we don't want to lie. I'm teaching him. And he's like, but she won't ask. So let's go get one. So like, I kind of respect that way of thinking that he's doing, because he's knowing like, okay, if I ask Mom, she'll be like, no, you can't have chocolate right now, because have fucking apple slices or some shit instead. But Dad's pretty cool, so Dad might go along with it, even though I'm not always being, I don't want to be the parent that has a sugared up kid. So I'm trying to balance out the diet too. But also, I don't mind. He eats pretty well overall, so I don't mind sneaking him a little candy. But I do respect him being like, you know what, I gotta figure out how to get that while making everyone happy at the same time. I think that's pretty fucking clever.
Yeah, that's really good.
You were homeschooled, Rebekah. Yeah. How's that for a transition?
Yeah, that was a really good segue. So I'm
what was that like then? So like, how did you make friends outside of your living room classroom or your dining room classroom?
Well, I had such a big family, so I mainly hung out like with my brother's 18 months older than me. So like from 0 to 10, I would just hang out with my brother. And then we started to get involved in these homeschool groups, which if you saw the kids that are in this homeschool group today, you'd be like, this is like the scariest thing I've ever seen. It's like denim skirts. It was like we'd go to these like skating rinks, and they had homeschool nights once a month on Wednesdays, and it'd be like kids roller skating in denim skirts down like to their feet, playing only Christian music. Like no one was allowed to like touch, hold hands. It was something like out of a movie. And I met my best friend Sarah. We're still best friends. And so she just turned 30 this week. So we've been best friends for like 20 years. But then her name was Sarah Gerke, and we were like the only friends for almost all the way until high school.
Oh, that's pretty sweet that you're still friends.
Yeah, it's really sweet. She has like kids now and a husband, so we don't see each other a whole lot. But it's a culture shock. I went to a private school when I was 15, but there were only 7 kids in my class. So
7?
Like 7.
That's fucking.
I know. And we were
Wow.
a bigger class. Like the guy who graduated before me, he was the only person in their class. And all the teachers were just parents, like from like the church that we went to. And then I went to like a real school, UW Rock County, and it was like I was like, well, there's people everywhere. And then I started banging. Left and right. I'm like, oh my God. They all love me.
So what age did you start banging? I missed the age timeline there.
19. That's when my world opened for the first time. And I was like, oh,
and your vagina too.
And my vagina. Well, and my butt. I'm just kidding. And I was like, oh, there's a whole world out here. And since then, I'm like, when you live such a sheltered life, when you get to be out in the world, you're like, this is great. I don't know why everyone is complaining. You can do whatever you want. You can live an entire life doing whatever you want.
Now, yeah, it's almost like the Amish had that Rumspringa thing, you know?
Right.
Did you ever ask your parents, now that you're an adult woman, be like, what the fuck was that about, the homeschooling thing?
Well, they will tell you, because they didn't want, my dad's a pastor, so in a very conservative, and they didn't want worldly views being pushed into our heads. So like the public schools will not teach you about Christ, the Bible, evolution. My parents don't believe in evolution. So that's like the number one thing that they wouldn't want. So
see, in a public school, I went to a Chicago public grade school. And then for high school, though, I went to an all guys Catholic high school.
Okay.
Now, what Christian denomination is your dad?
A Reformed Presbyterian.
Okay, I don't know the differences anyway. I don't even know why I asked.
It's basically like Baptist, and that's
okay.
The school I went to was a Baptist school.
Let me ask you this: how come Black Baptists always have a blast at church, but the White Baptists, I feel like you guys aren't doing that, are you? Are you guys doing like the, like grabbing your chest and doing this thing?
It's like, oh, like the cool churches? No, it's like, because that's like, they're actually very against it, because it's supposed to be like about God, and you're not supposed to show, it's not supposed to be like a concert, because then they're like, then it's not about worshiping Christ. Like, we only had a piano because anything more than a piano would be considered for your own entertainment and not to like give worship to God. Like, that's the type of upbringing that I had.
It just makes me laugh, because it's who the fuck decides, like, 100 years from now, they'll be like, all right, an acoustic guitar is fine, but if I hear one fucking minor chord, you're out.
That's really would be the debates. And you're like, am I going insane? Am I the only one who thinks this is nutty? And there was, for probably like 2 weeks straight, there was a debate in our church whether they should take the piano out and it should only be a cappella, or if they should keep the piano in. That was fine. It was like a vote, and it was pretty split. And also, it's like to do hymns, only hymns, and no other praise worship. They're really against taking secular songs and making it Christian. That's kind of a big no-no.
Okay, I mean, I don't like knocking religion, but that fucking, it's weird to me. It's weird as all.
Yeah.
Now, with the public school thing, I was going to say, because you were worried about those certain things. Of all the things you listed, there's no religion at all. No one's talking about God at all. I mean, we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance, which has under God. But other than that, there was zero religion in Chicago public school, which is like good. You should be learning fucking subjects.
Right.
Do the religion stuff at home. Pray in the morning, pray after school. If that's your thing, go for it. Right. School should be about learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Evolution works not, though. So there your parents would be like, hey, do I look like a monkey? Whatever anti-evolution people say,
That's about it. That's all.
That's about it. Right? That's how they cover it.
Yeah, I would rather be less dumb and know, I would have rather gone to a public school. Although the older I get, the more I realize that I'm just as smart as the people who went to public school. Like growing up, I've always felt like I wasn't. And then when you get to talking to somebody, you're like, oh, you actually aren't learning a lot there either.
No, I don't. I think like the whole school system, public school, Catholic school, I think a lot of them are just, American schools in general are failing. I feel like, I just, with the homeschool thing, and look, people, if you're a fucking parent out there listening, you do whatever the fuck you want or whatever you think is best. I just remembered growing up, every homeschool kid you met or you heard about was some fucking weirdo because they didn't know how to socialize.
I know. And I do get a twinge of that sometimes. I try very hard to be normal, but I think it's just the more. But also be weird. It's kind of
It's
cool.
cool.
It's kind of cool to not be social. You know.
Yeah, I mean, drop the weird Wisconsin accent, but everything else, I think you're very well adjusted,
Oh,
Rebekah.
thank you. Well, the real humdinger is I'm really from Missouri, so I don't know why I'm laying this on so thick.
No, I like your accent, but it's very folksy, and when people hear it, they're like, "That's Wisconsin."
I know, and I don't even realize. And when I do stand up, it's worse. And when in your head you realize you're doing something, and then you're like, "Well, I can't stop now. I'm already halfway through my set. I can't switch back to talking."
I've caught you in your sets early on, like 3-4 years ago, go in and out of the accent.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to just pick a path because as the audience, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck's going on right now? Where's she from? What's happening with this voice?"
But I don't do it on purpose. Do you remember when we did that show in Wisconsin at the lake, and you made fun of my accent, and everyone was like, "We don't hear it."
That's right. That show was insane. That was like the first on the road, or the only one I've done on the road in the last year. Was that like June of 2020?
Yeah.
Like things had we're starting to calm down a little bit.
Yeah,
And
outdoor show.
it was an outdoor show. I'm like, we'll be safe. I got to do it. I wanted to do it. I had to get out. And right away, the dude who ran the place was like, put it there. And it's like, fucking, I don't want to touch your hand. Get the fuck away from me, man. Like, and you could tell everyone there, it was a small town. They were just like, what's COVID?
Yeah, they did
What
not
is that?
care. And I even remember that he was like, listen, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I'm not even sure if it's like real, blah blah blah. And you're like, well, my wife is actually a nurse and she sees it every single day.
Yeah, I had to tell him because I can't. There was a time in my life where, you're working the road and you're just like, I want to do my set. I want to have fun. I'll talk to people afterwards. But every now and then you come across some people where you're just like, you think what now?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
They'll just like drop some racist remark and they're like, right, man? I'm like, no, get the fuck away. There are times in the past where I just be like, just kind of like nod my head or just change the subject, get the fuck out of there. Because you don't want a confrontation when you're like traveling. That's the thing about traveling. You just want to like make things easy because you're far from home. It's like what we were talking about earlier with like being out in the middle of nowhere, if some killer's after you. That's why the horror movies are set out there because there's like this level of like, I'm alone, me and these fucking crazy trees. So when you're traveling, you're kind of like that too. You don't want to like, I've never heard of too many people like, dude, I got into a brawl on vacation. It's like, usually it's just like, whatever, fine, I'll fucking move on. Yeah. But now I'm at the point especially with the COVID stuff, when I heard that people say stuff like that, I'm like, no, it's real. It's fucking real.
It's real. Like people who are dying. I try when I go on the road to be nice, but I find I don't know if I'm like getting in my head lately about like things that could go wrong, but I'm trying to like just go and do it and be nice and then kind of like leave, but not give too much of myself like away conversationally, because I'm like, you never know if it's a stranger and you're talking after a show, you're like, you never know who that person is going to be.
I mean, for women, it's a whole different bag. That's the one thing I remember talking about that with, I think, Megan Gailey or someone, where I was like, there's nothing as a guy I could do. I feel like I had an accent there as a guy.
See, it just comes
to ever make a woman feel safe with strangers. Like I was saying, like as much as society could evolve and all that shit, there's still going to be a paranoia in most women's heads, like walking back to their car or whatever, where it's like, shit, am I going to get fucking killed or stabbed? You say you're on an elevator, you're going up on an elevator and someone gets on a floor and you're like, I got fucking 18 more floors with this guy. I don't know what's going to happen. I only say that because I watched Law & Order SVU episode the other day where there's an elevator situation. You're like, fuck,
Oh, no. I'm not going to watch it. Yeah, I get a little nervous I just look. I'll get nervous in an elevator, and if this happened to me last week, and it's not the guy's fault. He's just walking behind me, but I'm like, I am nervous. Until he passes me, there's just like a little bit of nerves, but not even in like a sexual way. I'm like, what if this guy just like hits me in the head and like takes my wallet? Like there's just that type of like, and if it's a girl, I'm like, well, like she could hit me in the head and it would hurt, but I don't know if she's gonna get my purse.
You can take that bitch.
Yeah, I could probably handle it. I've been wanting to get into a fight lately. I've been just wanting to know if I could do it, you know? And either a woman or like an average size male, because I almost feel like I could hold my own there too. Like a
Let me just say you probably couldn't. I don't know, actually. Yeah, I think you could. An average size male, depending on the dude. Very much depending on the dude. But I like how you were at the stage of the pandemic where you want to get into a fucking fist fight. That's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. Well, like mask on, of course.
Oh, yeah, you gotta be safe.
You gotta
Duh.
keep your mask on, and it's like just fist to fist. Have yeah, no mouth, only like body shots and kicks. I would say just to
Oh, I
keep it.
was gonna say, like, you know, I got a couple broken ribs, but I didn't get any droplets on anyone.
Yeah.
I'm the
There
same.
you go. Ooh, is it transferred through blood? No.
COVID? I don't think so. Like, if
Right.
someone you be blood brothers with someone who's COVID, it's not HIV.
No.
Um, but it's a virus, and HIV is a virus. So viruses viruses,
Really?
they could go that way. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
I'm
have to
sorry.
Google this now. Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. I
You know
am.
what I do when I'm walking and there's a woman walking slowly in front of me? I just go, "You want to fucking move, bitch?" No, I'm kidding. I
Like, get out of
sort
the
of
way.
audio thing right there. No, you know what I say? I start
Mhm.
singing a song loudly so they know, oh, there's no way I'm gonna get murdered to a guy who's singing like a real jolly song. You know what I mean? I'll start singing like Christmas songs in July, shit like
Mhm.
that they're like, "All right, this guy's clearly safe. He's just a little drunk."
They're like, "He's singing System of a Down," and I'm actually terrified.
Yeah, well, you know, you gotta sing a little Slipknot to let them know you come to fucking headbang, you know?
Did you just get that Beatles hat? That looks new.
I barely wear it. You know, I need a haircut. I'm past due for a cut. And normally I have it when I go, everyone watching this on YouTube, you're about to see the wide angle. When
Uh-oh.
I go this route, hold on, where you go? Click that. I usually have like the Beatles hat right behind me, right here. It's like I
Mhm.
like to have this nice background display here. It
It
tells
looks
people about
nice.
my personality.
Yeah, I feel like this says a lot about me.
Being at someone else's house and mooching
Being
off of them, sure.
with some cushions. I thought that was a, background at first. I didn't think that was in real life.
It's real life. Yeah, I got my guy Richard Pryor right there.
Yeah, I love it.
Nirvana's first album, Bleach. I got a
Yep.
show poster from a show I did in Alaska that you could kind of see because the wall changes pattern there. So I've
Mm.
got Cubs MVP All Star World Series champion Chris Bryant. I got some Marvel toys right here, some whiskey bottles,
Those
little
are nice.
Chicago flag.
Are you watching, oh, is this still Kilgallon's Pub? Because I brought a drink just in case.
You could drink along. I'm not drinking right now.
Okay,
I call it the Joe Kilgallon Podcast, aka Kilgallon's Pub.
there we go.
Um, I went away from Kilgallon's Pub for Google search reasons. I'm like, I gotta just put my name on everything, just make it easier, I suppose. Could have called it the Joe Kilgallon Show, but the Joe Kilgallon Podcast works.
Yeah, your name has a nice ring to it where you can go, it's just Joe Kilgallon. With the Marvel, you like Marvel, are you watching WandaVision?
Fuck yeah, I'm watching WandaVision, and I'm
I love
loving every second.
And you wanna know what? Unlike, those haters from the beginning, I was on board with it from the get-go because I knew what it was going to be. They said it was going to be kinda goofy. I went into it not expecting a normal, like, Marvel show. It's
Well, they
phenomenal.
said they were going to do things they had never done before. The whole tagline of the show is expanding the universe.
Mhm.
Um, so they were kind of giving you a sense that something is not what it seems.
Yep.
Like this isn't really them going from the 50s to the 60s to 70s, and then they're going to get to the 2020s, and
Mhm.
then or the 2020s, whatever we're calling this new decade, and then that's just no. They obviously they teased enough from the first two episodes where I knew big shit was going to happen.
Mhm.
Also, all the haters,
Yeah,
this is Marvel.
I know.
They don't really fuck shit up. They
Nope.
know what they're doing, and I feel like
Mhm.
they've earned the level of trust for me to be okay with the first two episodes being slow. I've watched a lot of TV shows that people went insane for, where the
Mhm.
first two episodes were just all right. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like the first four episodes of The Wire, I think are kind of just like fine, you
Mhm.
know? And everyone's just like, oh, this fucking like
Yeah.
you couldn't go through two 20-minute episodes of WandaVision.
Right. Also, give I don't understand why I feel like it's happening this year specifically with like The Mandalorian and WandaVision. I've never watched a show and immediately posted on Facebook about it. Like the dialogue of like please please me, like it's like who are you that you're such a critic of these shows? Enjoy it, watch it, don't like it, move on. I don't know, the discussions behind it are a little irritating to me. It kind of ruins it. Like, I like the beginning, but not the end. No spoilers. Let's talk about it in the comments. I don't know.
Yeah, especially if it's not your thing. Like I follow some people on social media, like TikTok and Twitter, probably, where their whole thing is commenting on
Yeah.
Marvel and comic book movies, and that's their genre. So I go to them and be like, oh, I wonder what this dude thought of this, or what she thought, or whatever. Who the fuck, you know? I don't understand how, but you're right. There's like all these people. You're not a fucking film critic. You
You're
put
right.
very little into this, and you just want to be first. And you're probably like, there is a weird thing where you have to externalize every thought. Where it's like, here's my thought. I have to now tell the world this thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking crazy to me. I thought about this recently. How did not wanting to be friends with people in today's climate is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Because like I got a friend that I'm like, look, we're just different people now. I mean, I wish you the best. I don't hate you, but I don't want I don't want to you're a fucking prick and I don't like you really. And I just think you're kind of a dick. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. We had some good times in the past, but like, hey,
We're done.
all right. I just don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
We're different people now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought to myself, but I'm always going to end up seeing what's happening in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But if this was like in the late 90s even, and you were done with someone, you could literally be done with them and not have to fucking ever worry about, maybe you'd bump into them if you lived in the same area, but you don't have to know about what's going on in their life.
Yeah. Well,
what a beautiful time that must have been to really fucking, that's like true canceling of someone. Like you canceled, I don't have to deal with you anymore. You're out of my life.
Leave a dear to you, especially if you move. But don't you unfollow people?
I unfollow people on some stuff. Yeah, but you have enough mutual friends where I feel like you might catch wind of what's happening. Everyone watching on YouTube, I just went back to the tighter shot because my eyesight hasn't been great lately, I feel like. So that's why I wanted the tighter shot so I could really get a better look at you there, Rebekah. Actually covered your face. I don't like it right now. No, I'm joking. You look like you got a little oily forehead going on. Did you just work out?
I do. No, I didn't.
I'm fucking with you, by the way. No, come on. I'm joking.
Joe, you're telling me something that I've been telling myself since I got on this podcast. I started using vitamin C serum, which has done wonders in good lighting, but this one isn't hitting it. I feel like Whitney Cummings. You know how she always thinks her face is oily? She's like, my face oily? I've been using, since the pandemic, I've been just so many creams. Every time I go to the store, I'm like, I could use a new face cream. And then I lather. I got a robe and slippers now. I take an edible and that's what I do. I have nights.
Oh, I got to get on the edible train. I need to get some edibles.
Oh my gosh. It's changed my life. I only do baby. I go 5 milligrams. It isn't even enough to really do a whole lot. It just calms you down. I take like a sleepy time one and then I'll just go in my room, do a little mask. And I'm the lamest person you could ever know now.
You got some me time. You got
Yeah, you gotta have me time. Also, I feel like you're drinking. I'm turning 30 this year. Did you notice you're 42? Did you notice when you turned 30 that it was like a huge?
You said I'm 42. I know you were kidding, but come on, that hurts a little bit. Jeez, I'm 36.
Whoa, actually, that was older than I would have paid you for. But was that like staring down the barrel of it? It's coming up in like 5 months.
30 was kind of. 40 is going to be weird. I go back and forth on 40. Look, 2 years ago, I would have been like, fuck 40. Mm-hmm. Part of me still is like, fuck 40. I want to be in my mid 30s is where I'm at right now. And I kind of feel like mid 30s is a cool time to be in. 30 wasn't bad because at the time I knew so many people who like were cool 30-year-olds. So like, it was kind of like looking forward to that. Late 20s, I didn't like.
No.
Late 20s just felt like you're in this weird cross between mid 20s, which is more excusable to act a certain way and do certain stuff. Late 20s, you felt like you're supposed to be on your road to something, but you don't know what.
Yeah.
And then 30 just felt like I'm fucking 30 now.
Yep.
I'm like, this is like I'm an adult. This is solidly, I'm a full grown person. Here we go. I'm 30. 40 just feels like, I don't know. The 40 is different. We're comedians. If we were singers, 40 sounds terrible, but some of the best comedians really hit their prime in their 40s.
Almost almost all of them. Tom Segura, I don't think got bigger until he was in his 40s. Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. I mean, in 2008, he had Why Do I Do This, which I feel like was his first, like, really, I think it was like his first special, and that really kind of took off. He's 52 now, so he was 40. Yeah, I think he was 40 when that came out. Yeah, talked about being 40. Louis C.K., I think Shameless or Chewed Up, that special was like 40 years old. Chappelle's in his mid-40s right now.
Yeah,
He started when he was like 16.
But yeah, that's insane. I don't feel, and even the female comics, I was looking at that, comics who I think are like very young, I'm like looking up their ages. I'm like, oh no, they're all in their mid 30s, early 40s. It's so, in this career, you don't think of it, but I'm like, it's just such a long process. I think 30 to 40, and even now I think with like social media and like, I think 40 is kind of the new 30 a little bit, where it doesn't seem old to me anymore. Like, I think a lot of people are just starting to like settle down in their 40s.
Well, people are living longer too.
Yeah.
So if life expectancy hits 80, 40, you're at the halfway point, which doesn't seem bad. And people are, even more so. I think we're going to hit a weird time in society. This is a weird, bold prediction. Unfortunately, the actual environment is probably not going to be getting better, because America in the world is just stupid in a lot of ways about it, sadly. So I think we're going to hit a weird time in which life expectancy is going to jump up a bunch because of medical tech advancements. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the planet is going to be like, well, fuck that, because there's too many goddamn people.
Yeah.
So here's a hurricane. Mm-hmm. Here's an ice storm in Dallas, Texas, where there's no people. This snowstorm down there is insane. I mean, we have it way worse up here. Chicago, it snowed like 3 fucking feet over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I shoveled myself out this morning with one window scraper. It took me like 2 hours.
Maybe we were talking about fighting earlier. I think you could do some damage to people if you're that tough.
When I finally pulled out, I gave myself a look in my rearview mirror, like with kind of like a little like head nod to be like, wow.
Like, what's up? Yeah. I'm swinging the big dick now. What's up?
Me. What were you saying about Texas? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was saying that that's like, I almost feel like that's Mother Nature being like, we can't have all these people living to be 100. We can't have all this kind of crazy shit. So the environment's almost going to act as like the Grim Reaper and start taking people down. But back to the age thing. Yeah, I'm starting to settle in thinking like 40 could be fun. I've got 4 years. Where am I going to be in 4 years? I get excited because I'm like, I'm going to be fucking in a great place. So I already am in a great place, but it's going to be even greater. Yeah. So I get kind of pumped about that. And especially since we talked about all the comedians who have really been killing it in their 40s. I think it's something about comedy different than music and acting. Think about acting. There's children actors. So no one's ever going to write a movie about a 6-year-old stand-up comedian. You know what I mean? There's movies where like the lead is a 6-year-old. Like, so it's different. There's acting classes for kids.
Yeah.
There's not, stand-up comedy I'm talking about specifically, it's just not something that's, and musically, you could sing pretty early on.
Right.
You figure that out. I mean, there's other skills you develop, but comedy just takes a long time to craft, stand-up comedy in particular, very long time to craft, to find your voice, they say. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success, but that's not even true. There's people who've been 17 years in and you're like, oh, like what's Joey Diaz is like 55.
I know. Crazy. Even Abby, who just was on HBO, like he's in his 40s also. Shout out to Abby Sanchez, but he's been working so hard and now it's finally starting to like pay off, like seeing the fruits.
Well, that's what's really cool about it, because I'm not going to say age, if you're 75 and you're going to start stand up, it's going to be tough for you. Right. I mean, and you're going to have to at least have some kind of like fingers on the pulse of what's happening.
Yeah.
I thought about that as comics age. What, like a comic like Bill Burr's done a great job as he's aged, is he's cynical in areas that are funny overall. Like, I remember he had that great joke about the self-checkout. Just being like, self-checkout's new technology, and he's like, fuck that, and here's why. But then there's other things where it's like, this is new, and he's smart enough to be like, well, this is new, but I can't be the old guy who shits on everything that's new.
Yeah.
And everything that's new is bad. That's a horrible angle as a comedian. Who's going to gravitate towards that guy?
Right.
So you have to be sharp enough and to really have the personality to not immediately hate everything that's new. Because I feel like that's a lot of just people in general. They hate what's new.
Yeah.
As a comedian, you can't be 70 going on stage telling everyone who's way younger than you to be like, what you like sucks. Because no one's, even if it's really funny, you're just not going to have that likability, I feel like.
Yeah, it comes off more bitter than anything to be like, oh, that also it kind of makes you look like, no, I just don't understand this if you don't like anything. Also, but it like once you get comfortable with something and other things change, it is hard to kind of like now jump onto something else. I find myself getting that way with like TikTok, social media in general, like with quarantine. I'm not on it a lot and it's just not like I don't know. I just suck at it. But I found myself hating like I'm like the Zoom comedy shows and like everyone putting their stuff online, the creativity. And then I had to take a step back and be like, no, that's because you're not good at it and you're not applying yourself. That's why you hate other people creating it. It's not, it's not them. It's right here.
Well, that's very mature way to do it. And I used to be like that too. Whenever there's someone was starting to do some other shit, I'd be like, oh, fuck that. But it really was my own thing where I'm like, I don't want to keep up. I don't want to do more stuff like that. But it's like anything else, though. I try to approach these new platforms like TikTok and other things as opportunities.
Yeah.
And everything's approach. I don't really post much on Facebook anymore because I feel like the audience has gone away from Facebook for that reason. I feel like Facebook's a bad website to promote because, again, you're saying, look at me or go buy a ticket. Facebook's like, oh, you're trying to sell something? Fuck you, pay us. That's Facebook's mentality. And Facebook's just a place for people to go argue and share dumb conspiracy theories and to ask questions. Tell me your top 10 movies. I'm always seeing questions like that where it's like, name your favorite movie when you were 10. Like, no. I want to comment on all of them. No. Fucking, why do you give a shit,
Yeah, I'm over Facebook. The past month, every time I go on there, I'm like, this is miserable. Everyone who is on this and not switched over to Instagram or TikTok, who just want to kind of create, like that's where you want to be. You don't want to be where like it's almost like left with like all the miserable people over on that side, just still sharing.
Facebook is the only reason I could ever think why I would need to go on Facebook would be to be like, hey, does anyone know a good mechanic? I live in this part of the city.
Yeah.
That's it. Because you're not going to tweet that. You know what I mean? You're not going to
maybe like fuck off.
have an Instagram picture of your shitty car being like, like, could someone help? So I guess that's what Facebook's okay with. I fuck around on Facebook Marketplace because I'm like, that's some good shit there,
Yeah, I love that. I'm in a group called Chicago Pizzerias History, and it's just people posting pictures of their pizza from all over the city, but it's very funny because everyone takes it so seriously. So it'll be like, oh, this is like Nick and Vinny's, what is it called?
Vito and Nick's.
Yeah, Vito and Nick's. And then like they'll post a picture of their pie, and people will be so aggressive about being like, nope, that needs to be about 2 minutes longer in the oven. And then like it's back and forth, but it's so funny to watch. It's all I do is look at that group. Give it a peek.
I'll give it a peek, but like even see your attitude towards that. It's a bunch of people bitching, but you enjoy it. I feel like the key is to find a way to take these things for what they are and find a way to enjoy the process of it. So, for the non-comedians listening, which I hope is most of you, it's, use the social media for what you want to gain from it, I guess. If it's just a way to keep up with some friends, post some fun pictures and be like, hey, this is what's going on in my life, then that's great. Don't let the number of likes you get and all that other bullshit stress you out. But if you're like a small business owner or whatever, think of it as, I'm not the person who came up with this phrase, but someone said like ports of entry. Might have been Andrew Scholl. So shout out to that dude. I feel like he's a master at a lot of this stuff. It's just another way, there's a comedian friend of ours, who was asking me a lot about TikTok when he recently, because he was like, I want to get into it, and he was like, oh God, there's so many rules to this shit. Cause he was posting some videos and I'm like, well, first of all, you got to use some hashtags. And I even told some people, I'm like, look, when you get on these platforms, fucking explore them. Take a week to fuck around on them and you'll figure it out and be like, oh, here's what people are doing. Here's what look at other comedians. Google or search stamp comedians on TikTok, see the ones who have a lot of followers and pick up the pattern of what they're doing. Because there is like a formula to a lot of this shit. When I first got on TikTok, I was like, all right, who's good on TikTok? I came across like Sam Morril, Nate Bargatze, Mark Norman, I think. He's great on YouTube. He's great on everything. That guy's awesome. I love that dude.
Instagram's great. He's I think he's my number one right now. He's so funny.
He's definitely in the conversation for me too. I featured for him like 6-7 years ago, and he's always been a really cool guy to like talk to whenever I'd run into him like in LA or I ran into him in New York too. But really fucking cool dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, I looked at what those accounts were doing, and I go, all right, well, there's the videos all have to be like this way because you're watching your phone like that. So not the wide way like YouTube wants it. It's a different ratio, or whatever the fuck it's called. And everyone watching on YouTube, sorry, there's a lag on my end, the video, because I'll turn this way and then I'll be stuck that way for a second and I'll turn back. Anyway, sorry for audio listeners. So I said, all right, that's what they're doing. And they're also doing hashtags, hashtag comedy, hashtag stand-up comedy, hashtag the topic. And then sometimes they'll see what's trending on TikTok and throw the trending like hashtag in there. All right, great. I'll do all that. Then I also noticed these people are posting all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, here's the goal. I'm going to post as many stand-up clips as possible, mix in some podcast clips, and see if I could jump on some trends. Like I remember there was like a No Nuance November where people would just give their unadulterated opinions on shit, where it's like, here's why this sucks. Here's why, like, not really like giving any nuance to their thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do one of those. Like but you got to think of it too. Like talking about Ports of Entry, be like, all right, maybe this video didn't do well, but the video I'm going to post 4 days from now, maybe that fucking thing will go off. And then I'll have people be like, what else has he got?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now I'm going back through his old TikToks, and now those ones are rising in views. Because that's what happened to me.
Really?
I was posting, the first. So I told myself I'm going to see if I can post every day for as long as I can. I didn't say like for the next 10 days. I'm like every day. First 4 days, 5 days, even longer, nothing. And I'd done sporadically before that. So I probably had about 10 videos up there. Jack shit. I had literally 7 followers. And then on day like 11 or 12, a video took off. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit. I went from over the next week, I went from like 7 followers to like 3,000. And then 2 weeks. And then all the other videos went up. I was checking because you see your view count. So that one video, I remember when it hit like 50,000 views, being like, holy shit. I looked, all my other views were like 12,000 views, 13, because they were like, what else does the guy have? Mm-hmm. Then I went over to YouTube and I noticed my YouTube views were starting to go up because I put a thing in the bio going full videos on YouTube because you can only post like up to 55 seconds or something on TikTok. Mm-hmm. And then, so if you're a comedian out there or a musician or whatever, oh, you got albums? Cool. I'm going to see what this guy's albums are like. Mm-hmm. Now, because they found me on TikTok, they go to the other ones. Same thing with Twitter. Someone might see a nice tweet of yours, although I think Twitter's 2 years away from being like Facebook. Twitter has breaking news, though, so I think people will stick by it. Like if some political thing happens, they'll be like, oh, how'd the Senate vote? I'll go to Twitter. Or was there a trade in the NBA? I could go to Twitter. So that's where it's like saving grace is. As far as promoting, though, I think it's really like Facebook. But like, yeah, you might have a really good tweet, and people are like, well, fuck, what else is here? That's the way people need to think about it. If you're viewing it as a chore that you don't want to do, you're probably going to put up crappy shit anyway, and it's just going to frustrate you even more. Mm-hmm. Where, sorry if I'm going on a long speech about this, Rebekah, but I feel like people need to hear that.
Yep, it's great, and it's also it's just interesting to like hear your mind. I like what you said about like it being a chore because I'm like I genuinely don't really enjoy it. Like I love stand-up comedy, and I can't wait to do it again. And I like that type of like art, and I like posting jokes sometimes, but I'm like, I really don't enjoy like Zoom comedy. I don't think I've done it a couple of times, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this. And I get it if it's like a career you need to like kind of get over it and just do it. But I'm like, it's not fulfilling for me.
Look, Zoom comedy is not the future.
No.
Anyway.
I think that too. I'm like, I could do it, but I'm like, or I could wait, and I'm fine waiting and just doing something else this year, kind of like doing other things,
I think you need to, my personal thing, and this is a nice little segue. You have the new podcast that you're doing with Blake and Jonah, Blake Burkhart, Jonah Jerkins, that both great Chicago comedians that have been on this podcast, listeners. That's where I think I've said this before. So again, longtime listeners, sorry for being redundant. Comedians in the year starting in 2020 to 2021 to 2021. Sorry, I'm getting like a speech impediment now. You can't think of yourself as a stand-up comedian first.
Yeah.
Because nothing's open. There are no shows right now. The clubs are slowly opening back up, which is great. Shout out to Zanies. I did a really cool like virtual show there, which was my first time doing that. And I had fun with it because they did it differently. I went to the club. I was on stage there. They filmed it. They live streamed it. And they had people in a Zoom room who I could hear their laughter. I could see them.
That's awesome.
But that was like the cool way of doing it. And I think a future there might be all the clubs, the smart clubs, will sell tickets virtually. Because there's going to be some people who are like, look, I'm not going out quite yet. Or maybe hey, I bought myself a 70-inch TV during all this shit and I'm a homebody now and I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like comedy and whatever. And they'll be able to go to zanies.com, laughfactory.com, pay $10, $20, maybe, I don't know what the price will be. Keep it cheap at your house. $10, get that fucking link, click that link and watch the comedian.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be even better if there's a live packed house. So now you get live ticket sales and you get digital ticket sales. So the big names are probably already working on this. Like Jim Gaffigan's thinking to himself, fuck, I already have an older audience. This is going to be great. I'll go back to doing a theater, or I could even do a smaller theater, fucking a 500 seater, sell all those tickets. Then for an extra $10, it's unlimited. I could sell a $10 live stream, fucking a million of those all day, as long as the technology's good and I've got the broadband for it or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
That's just another way to business model. But what I'm saying is you can't think of yourself as a comedian first. We're always gonna be comedians, but as far as like crafting your act, you're gonna be sitting around being like, when could I do this? When could I do that? And you're just gonna frustrate yourself. Yeah. Think about this. You're no longer comedian / podcaster. You're podcaster / comedian. You're podcaster / fucking this. That's just the way it goes. I started viewing it like, all right, I'm a YouTuber / podcaster / TikTok content creator.
Right.
And look, some of it's not fun, uploading shit and doing all that, but you do it because you think to yourself, when stand-up comes back, more people are going to hopefully come buy tickets because I'm building up this audience online. Yeah. Like that, you don't take the joy. The joy comes from the response you get. So it's a lot of work uploading a video and editing it the right way and adding like some effects and some captions and all that kind of shit, wherever you're doing. That part sucks. But the part that's nice is when someone says, holy shit, you're fucking hilarious. Yeah. Or this just made my day. Or they're tagging their friends in the videos. That part's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that feels good. The gratification from it feels great. And even doing the podcast, people who you never know, because I always think of it just as my friends watching it, but then other people find it and it kind of, I've gotten messages from like strangers being like, oh my God, I love it. I'm like, whoa, it's very satisfying to like have something out there that you just think is like conversational. You're like, oh, this kind of who's listening to this? And then it's like, oh, people really enjoy it. And the Zoom comedy shows, the live stream, like Laugh Factory did it, Zanies did it. That's a whole date night for somebody. For people who are stuck in their house to like order in and like you have your tickets to like a comedy show. I've watched the audience enjoying it, like dying laughing. I've seen their like setups when I've like watched some of the Zoom shows, like they're in their living rooms, they have like blankets, they have like friends over. I'm like, oh, that's a whole night that like you're giving them that joy.
No, it's great. It's great. And like big respect to Zanies for having me on. And like, it was challenging because I'm like, what do I do? I haven't done stand-up in like 5 months now. And I don't want to just do my old stuff. I couldn't even remember my old stuff that well. So I'm like, I'm going to do one of my old jokes and fuck it up because I can't remember the beats. I did like 70% new stuff because I'm like, fuck it, let's just see how this goes. And my timing was off because it was new, and the timing's off because the audience isn't right there. But it was still fun, and I that's like that I'm more into than just because I'm doing a Zoom corporate show in a couple weeks, which I'm going to give my all to. But I'm literally going to be sitting where I'm at right now with this background, talking into a camera, and just it's not why we got into this. We got into this for the live thrill of it, right?
Right.
Now let's talk about your podcast. Never seen The Simpsons, because Rebekah, as we talked about earlier in this podcast, being a homeschooled kid, did you even have toys growing up?
Yeah, but not.
I was
a big G.I. Joe kind of gal. But no, I didn't. But you want to know what?
You weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons, right? Because it was too secular?
It's kind of crazy. I had this idea of the Simpsons as being very naughty show. Like I thought of it kind of as like a Family Guy South Park is what I would have assumed that it was like. And then I started to watch it and I was like, this is actually very PG. There's not a lot wrong with the show. It's kind of like baffling that I wasn't allowed to watch it. And I think what it is it's kind of I think what my dad didn't like, and I think a lot, because I'm not the only one who wasn't allowed to watch it. I know tons of people who weren't allowed to watch it growing up, like non-homeschoolers. I think it's the dynamic of the dad being a dum-dum and not respected as like the head of the household. I 100% think that's why America as a whole, it's kind of controversial show. But
I could see Yeah, I mean, growing up, everyone I know watched it, but I could see like, smaller town, very, very Christian conservative being like, no.
Mm,
And there were some jokes.
yeah,
I think the show's fine, but there are some jokes where it's like, all right, I guess I could see why you wouldn't want like a 6-year-old to watch it, maybe,
right.
but old. I just think the show's such brilliant writing, and it's just a funny show that's become timeless. What's like season 24 now or something?
Yeah, we're starting. We've done 20 episodes so far, and we started at season 3. But I'm dying every episode. I'm enjoying it. Like I'm enjoying it because it's so funny, but it's also the writing and it's so heartfelt. You just like fall in love with the entire show. So
Yeah, there's some great characters too. I mean, it's the fucking Simpsons. They
yeah,
they were such a phenomenon when I was a kid that Burger King had these Simpson dolls as like Happy Meals, as whatever the Burger King version of a Happy Meal is, a kid's meal or something.
mhm,
Side note, McDonald's genius for copywriting Happy Meal because all these other places have like a kid's meal and it just sounds
yeah.
so like, ugh, you know what I
No,
mean?
the
Sounds like cheap.
Shoppers has like a snacks. It's like called like a chop sack or something like that. And you're like, this sounds disgusting.
It does. It sounds like it's something a pervert would give you in a van.
Oh,
Anyhow,
chop sack.
yeah, they were such a phenomenon. I remember I had a teacher being like, "I'd buy Simpsons toys right now and not open them up because they're gonna be worth tons of money in 20 years
Mhm.
when like the nostalgia comes around and all that kind of stuff." And I remember him saying when the show's off the air, yeah, good call there because it's not off the air and it probably never will be.
Never
I
will be.
just It's one of those shows I think that it could almost like SNL, it could go on forever.
Yeah.
I like how it's Always Sunny is kind of like they're thinking the same way about themselves. Why can't we be a live action version of South Park where every year we'll just tackle a new issue? I've
Yeah.
been catching up on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And
Such a good show.
so fucking good.
Oh my
They did
god.
an episode about where they're trying to figure out the bathroom thing. How do we with the gender issues with bathrooms? Like
Mhm.
there's always gonna be new stuff in the world to talk about so they could keep it going. The Simpsons were brilliant where it's like the kids don't age.
Yep.
So
Nothing.
smart that they did it that way.
Yeah. There's no storyline. Like every episode's a storyline, but like
There's
throughout
no
it,
arc
there's no arc to it. I love. Who's your favorite?
character. It's Homer. Homer's just when I was a kid, when the episode, I can't remember you know, what season it was or whatever, but he did that thing where he was at like the candy fair or something and he stole like the little piece of candy. It was like the crown jewel. And
Mhm.
he goes running out because they're like, he set off an alarm and he's like, go, go. And he's like, telling the family to leave. He stops, gets a can of Coke, a thing
Mhm.
of like Pop Rocks, shakes it together, throws it like it's a bomb, and then he goes, "See you in hell, candy boys!" And he starts running, and like it's an explosion, and he goes flying from the explosion. And for when I saw that episode as like a 10-year-old, I must have said, "See you in hell, candy boys," every time I left anywhere for the next 4 or 5 years. I think I carried it on way past its due date, but it was worth it.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't. People say Homer a whole lot. Mine's either Bart. The kids have no bad lines. Anything that comes out of their mouth, is so funny.
No, yeah, Bart. I mean, Bart's amazing too.
I
There's
know. I
so
know
many
it's
good
kind
ones.
of hacky that everyone loves Bart, but I'm like, I, he's. I think he's the best one.
The
To ever
side
do.
characters are great. Chief
I
Wiggum's hilarious.
Yep, he's funny. I have a really hard time remembering their names. There's so many new characters, and I like once I watch it, it's like boop, out of my mind. And so they try to get me to guess the characters' names, and I fail.
It'll come back around. But
Yeah,
again, I think it's a show that could last on because they'll just keep finding these great writers who will like, I've always The Simpsons. I grew up in The Simpsons. Of course, I want to write for it, and they'll have fresh ideas, and they'll just keep it going. Um, and now that every episode's on Disney Plus, people are catching up. It'll have that steady audience. It'll dip, and then it'll come back up. It'll like waves, and I think that's amazing. Um, Rebekah, now I want to end the podcast playing the game I've been playing with people for probably, I think it started in like almost maybe a year ago now. I've been doing these. Classic game called Fuck Mary Kill. I'm going to play with you.
okay.
And I'm doing it different this time based off of your new and awesome podcast called Never Seen the Simpsons, which everyone should check out. We're going to do Fuck Mary Kill with Simpsons characters.
Oh, well,
So
okay.
I've got 3 picked out
All right,
for you.
all right. I'm
You
like,
excited?
if I can't say fuck Bart.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't choose. I didn't choose Bart or Lisa. I didn't want to choose the kids for that obvious reason. Um, so, and then if you want, you could throw one at me for fun. I know I didn't give you any heads up, but here we'll go you first, and maybe it'll give you some ideas for me. Here are your choices for Fuck, Marry, Kill, Simpsons edition.
All right.
Going with the obvious, you got to put them in there. Homer Simpson.
Okay.
Moving on. Literally right next door, Ned Flanders.
Okay.
And rounding out your choices of Fuck, Marry, Kill, I've got the owner of Moe's Tavern, Mo Sizlak.
All right.
It's tough.
Okay, this is easy. I'm gonna fuck Mo because it's gonna be weird. I feel like he's into some weird stuff. He's
I
gonna
didn't know you were into weird stuff.
Well, I'm not, but every once in a while, if it's a special occasion, I'm gonna. If you're in it for the fucking, you're like, I want it to be something I'm gonna remember.
Well, before we keep going, what kind of kinky shit do you think Mo's into?
I feel like he'll make me a little scared. Like I'll be in his bar, and then all of a sudden he'll like kind of like a storage room situation, and then he'll kind of like lock the door, but then be like, just kidding. But I'm like, but now my heart's racing a little bit, and then I don't know, we'll do some weird stuff. So I'm gonna do that with Mo, and then also sometimes they like people who are tinier than me, and I think he's kind of tinier than me.
He's shorter than you for sure, Mo Sizlak. I think he's about 5'4".
5'4", slender. Yeah, it kind of be like a. Anyways, and then I'm going to.
Hung though. He looks like he might be swinging some.
That body type always does. I say it a lot of times. The like very skinny 5'6" to 5'10". Yeah, kind of hunched over back. It's because he's pulling his peener's pulling him down a little bit. I'm gonna kill Homer, and I know, and I'm gonna marry Ned because he'll take care of me the most.
Why are you killing Homer?
Because Ned, you want to marry Ned. He's funny and he makes the most money.
Oakley dokley. He's a business owner.
You want to be Marge? You want me to be Marge? Would you be Marge or would you be Ned's wife?
Ned's wife's butt is higher up than Marge's butt. We find out.
That's because Ned pays for it.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I think Homer's so beloved. See, if it were me though, and that's why I'm glad it's you.
Yeah.
I would have. Yeah, that is tough.
Okay.
You can't kill Homer because he's so beloved.
Yeah, but are you gonna fuck him?
No, I would marry Homer and just not have sex with him because I think he's hilarious and I would just enjoy his company all the time. I'd be like, he fell down the stairs again. This guy's such a dope. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I think I would kill Ned Flanders.
Okay.
Because I would be like that scene in Fight Club. You've seen Fight Club?
No, but
I'm not ruining the big reveal of Fight Club, but there's a scene where he beats the shit out of Jared Leto, and Brad Pitt asks Ed Norton why he did that, and he goes, "I just wanted to destroy something pretty." That's what I would do when I'm killing Ned Flanders. I would be like that scene where I'm just bashing his fucking mustache in, and be like, "Oakley dokley, Oakley, fuck you," and headbutt him, and then blood comes out of the nose. The mustache should be red as if he just went down on his wife when she had her. Why did I go that way? That's you. You're his wife. You're Maud Flanders. But and then Mo Sizlak. Yeah, I guess maybe I'd bang him too. He's a business owner. If I did a good job, I could get free alcohol going forward. I don't know. I see. It got weird for me doing it. I don't think about it for me. I think about it for my guests, how they would choose.
Well, I have a good one for you. This is kind of like a. One of them's kind of like a bonus. Okay. Fuck, marry, kill. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Marge. Bart's teacher, Miss
Krabappel. R.I.P. The woman died who did her voice.
Huh, I didn't know that. Or, this is a bonus, the twin sisters. So that's grouped as one.
Side note, we were talking about WandaVision earlier. Someone had a funny... I don't know if it was like a meme where it showed Elizabeth Olsen with her twin sisters, Mary Kate and Ashley.
Oh, yeah.
Her sisters were twins. And then they had it next to Marge with the twins, Selma and Patty. And it kind of made me laugh. All right. So I am going to. This is tough.
I know. That was a
I'm
good
going. Yours is very good. See, Mrs. Krabappel had like a lingerie pic once in one episode, and she looked
I
pretty.
know. At Moe's Tavern, when she went, that was the Flaming Moe's episode, I think. She looked like a hot piece of cake.
The body looked tight, So I'm gonna bang her.
Okay, yeah. And
Or
she's
no, wait. You know what? I'm gonna marry her. Right? I'm gonna marry her. Because teachers have summers off, so that's nice.
But what if you don't get along with her? Then that sucks. That's fine.
What'd you say?
But if you don't get along with her, that's kind of a bummer. You have your
Yeah, that might be a bummer. I think I might get along with her okay, though. Then I'm going to bang Marge.
Ooh.
Because there was a thing in the early 2000s of naked Marge pictures going around that were kind of like sexy. So Marge is going to get it. And then the twins I have to murder, but now I have to kill two people? That's a lot of work.
You have two deaths on your hands. But if they're always by each other, you can kind of get them with one gunshot, I think. Or like
if you line them up just
yeah, a samurai slice across a good one.
Yeah, that might be. See, that's the challenge then. If you're going to be a murderer, go all in. Don't half-ass being a killer.
Nope. Yeah. Well, if you were to murder somebody and you're like, I'm already going to do it, I'm already going for it, you kind of want to make it as like gruesome as can be. You're like, I have one shot to kind of know what it feels like to kill a person. It's not something you take lightly,
Yeah, I agree. Go big or go to the prison, right?
Kill twins or don't kill at all. That's what I say.
For sure. All right, that was perfect. I like that a lot. Rebekah, do you have time to hang out for a little bonus?
Yeah.
We'll do a little bonus. So everyone listening right now, that's been the regular podcast. Subscribe to the Patreon. You get all sorts of exclusive content. There's hours of stuff there. I write some blogs. I've shared some videos of me drunk. Actually, Rebekah witnessed me recovering from that hangover the next day. I've shared a couple clips from that crazy drunken night I had. That was actually the last time I drank alcohol. It's been over a month now since I drank booze. So pretty good.
I thought you were talking about the first time I saw you hungover at the Texas Roadhouse when you had to go sit in my car while I ate steak. Oh,
yeah, that's right. You and I did a weekend in Minnesota.
Yeah. So I've kind of seen you in that state a couple of times.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it's not pretty. I get notoriously terrible hangovers. But everyone, check out Never Seen the Simpsons. Join the Patreon so you can get that bonus content of some really good stuff. That top tier, you get a producer credit on all my podcast clips. I throw in a little co-producer thing in there for you. So it mean the world to me. You guys are the best. Thanks for checking out the Joe Kilgallon Podcast. Cheers.